Hey everyone, and welcome back to Joey's Retro Newscast, where I'll be going over the top news of the last week in retro handhelds, retro gaming, and just gaming in general. Today is going to be a long one. Fair warning. There is Switch 2 news, tariff news, other devices, emulator news. There is a whole bunch to get over. But first, we are going to talk about the tariff news for my American friends, because as a Canadian, I am apparently the foremost authority on tariff news in this hobby. So let me share with you how the removal of the de minimis exemption affects you as a consumer in America and how this is going to apply to our hobby going forward. Now, again, just quickly, that exemption was where you could buy items for under $800 and not have to pay fees and tariffs and all of that. It's why none of it has affected you until May 2nd, which is when this is going live. You were safe from it because of that exemption, and now it's gone. And so this time, it's back because apparently they have a way to actually collect those fees from you, which is exactly what's going to happen. You will receive a sort of bill with your packages that has the fees that you have to pay. And so they were trying to figure out how to get this done for USPS and all that. And apparently they figured it out. We'll see if it gets delayed again, May 2nd, but it seems like it's going through this time. So what this means for you is every single purchase that you had imported from China under $800 is more expensive now. And there is two ways they can charge you. It is either 30% of the value or $25 per item. Now, the shipping company has to choose one, and they can only do it once per month. So let's say they choose 30%. It has to apply to all of their shipments that come in from China, and it'll be 30% for every single shipment, not just yours. They have once a month where they can change it to the other option, which is $25 per item. So we won't know what shippers are going to choose what. My assumption is the low-cost shippers are going to choose the percentage part, so 30%, because that'll be a lot less than $25 per item in a lot of scenarios, but that's just a guess. The long and the short of it is you're going to see some shippers are going to charge $25 per item, which in June raises to $50 per item. And then you're going to see some shippers that are going to charge 30%. And you're going to see China or Chinese companies are going to undervalue their packages to avoid a lot of this for you. Again, this doesn't affect them. This affects you as a consumer. You are paying this 30% or $25 per item, whatever it ends up being. And so let's use a very quick example. The Retroid Pocket Flip 2. $229. It'll likely be shipping after May 2nd. 30% of that is $69 US. $25 would be $25. So in that scenario, you would want a shipper that is going to charge you the $25 instead of the $69. However, you don't know who that's going to be until they start shipping and they choose. All of this is in the executive order. It took a while of reading through all of the addendums because they've updated it 3 times now and going through one by one, reading the footnotes and everything to tie all this back. But the long and the short of it is you're going to see an increase of 30% of an item, or at worst, $25 per item, $50 per item in June, and that. So the long story short for Americans is this is the least of, I think, most people's concerns, but it is not exactly the death knell for the hobby for America, but it is also going to cost quite a bit. And we're going to start to see a lot of people probably not spend as much. I would try and get your orders in now that are shipping before May 2nd, to be clear, because otherwise, this is the current scenario. $25 or 30%, and you'll have to wait to see which shippers you can use and which will apply which, and then decide from there. It's ugly. Okay, so that was just a heads up for American people that are watching. Let's get into the actual news. This comes from Matt Davis, so thank you, Matt. Discord is planning an IPO sometime this year, and some big changes are actually coming. Now, they've recently added ads and we've all seen them, and they're kind of annoying, but they're going to be adding more of that going forward. However, we all know what an IPO does to a company, and so I fully expect Discord to take a nosedive in 2026 for usability and all that sort of thing. It's just going to be pop-ups everywhere and all of that. I can guarantee it. So I fully expect that we're going to be waiting for an MSN Messenger to come back, an ICQ or Skype or somebody else, maybe Ventrilo or TeamSpeak will come back in pure form. Who knows? But the long and the short of it is we're going to continue this cycle with whatever comes up next, or you're just going to have to deal with all the ads and maybe spend a bit more on Nitro. As of April 1st, outdated emulators can no longer earn hardcore retro achievements. There is a full list of supported emulators on the Retro Achievements website, but you can also tell because there will be a pop-up and it'll tell you that your software is outdated and it's not supported while trying to earn achievements and all that sort of thing. So you're going to have to look at that. Now, there is some great news out of this. Nether SX2 on Android for PlayStation 2 was previously going to be unsupported. However, thanks to Tricks and Nether SX2 dev and all of that, they were able to work it out. And so now you can actually use Nether SX2 for hardcore retro achievements. Apparently, if you load a state, it's going to revert you to softcore, so you have to be careful about that. But otherwise, it does work. Apollo, the streaming host that we all use to stream to our handhelds, because it's awesome, just got an update. And there's a few fixes and things here. I'm unsure what the better frame pacing sentence means, where it applies. It seems to be in a specific scenario, but I don't know. Either way, it's an improvement at some point. And I see no reason not to update, so I did, and everything's fine. So I love Apollo. I love the dev's work. Keep it up. Well, that was kind of quick. RPCS3 on Android is discontinued. The proper project that we've been talking about for weeks is no longer being developed. However, it is being merged into the new RPCS3 project, and it'll continue under that name. So development isn't stopping. It is going to continue just under a different name. I have it linked in the sources for the proper GitHub, and we'll wait for a new build and all of that, but it should be just a quick name change and then they continue on. Just kind of scared everybody for a little bit. Guess what, TrimUI Smart users? There is a new operating system version for you. Well, it is a custom one. It is by Quark, or called Quark. They say this is a trimmed down stock operating system with extra goodies, more systems to choose from. RetroArch cores have been updated, which is great for hardcore users. CPU profiles adjusted, and support for SyncThing, which is awesome. This is actually a fantastic update. I wish I still had a TrimUI Smart to check this out. SyncThing integration was something that it was really missing and I needed, but this is awesome. Pack UI is out for the Brick and the Smart Pro. This is a MinUI-based custom firmware with a whole collection of packs that give you things like Wi-Fi and SyncThing and retro achievements, RetroArch, artwork scraping, and honestly, just a ton more. Now, I installed this and I used it for a bit yesterday or the day before, and my audio doesn't work anymore. And I also saw people complaining that they soft bricked their device with this install. And I didn't really dig too deep into those reports to see if it was like a user error thing or if it was another problem or I don't know. But if my audio worked, I would probably use this on the Brick. It is actually really good. Now, I don't like the Brick, so I'm not going to do that, but it seems like it's a really good option for those that are looking for a custom firmware or a custom operating system for the Brick. Personally, I'm waiting for Next UI to add a bunch of these features because it has deep sleep, and that interests me a lot more, but Pack UI looks interesting. I would just probably be careful, see if all that stuff is user error or not before installing it, because there's some weird stuff going on there. Continuing the trend of Nintendo Switch emulators being weird, or developers being weird, Citron seems like it's done. Look, I'm going to admit, my research into this topic was near zero, but the long and the short of it is basically almost all of the Discord members were kicked out. There was some drama with the lead developer, and they were a developer of a previous Switch emulator project that failed and had other drama because that's exactly what happens with Switch emulators. all this sort of thing. Long and the short of it is it seems like they're splitting off. There is going to be a new project with the other devs from Citron making a new Citron-ish emulator, and then the other guy's going somewhere else. I don't know. Honestly, man, the Switch emulator drama, even though it's been a few months since our last one, it's too much for me. I can't deal with this stuff. Nintendo's sitting back like, we don't even have to DMCA you. You guys just destroy yourselves. That's exactly what's happening. Delta Emulator version 1.7 is out for Apple devices. This is a big update. You can now play DS games online through multiplayer. There's also a new updated N64 core. You can take screenshots, which, okay, sure, cool. There's also retro achievement support, awesome, which, cool for Apple users. And then a bunch more improvements. Delta is actually shaping up nicely for Apple users, so check it out if you happen to own an Apple device. Question of the week. What do you call your characters? And I mean in-game. What do you call them? When you're playing Link in The Legend of Zelda, do you call him Link or do you call him your name? Is it like Bob or Matt or David or whatever? Do you call him Joey? Like, what do you call your characters? And does it matter? Is it like some games you're like canon, where you're like, I want my character's name to be the character. So it has to be, I don't even know. It has to be Link in this situation. Or are you just like, I use foul names for everything and I use my own name for everything. I insert myself in all of that. I'm very curious. On my end, I try and use the canon name wherever I can in a lot of scenarios. It really depends. Sometimes in Pokemon, I'll call myself Joey instead of like Red or Gold or whatever. But in like Zelda, Link is Link. Look, Link did not go through all of his hardships over the years to not be called Link. He deserves to be called Link. So, yeah, man, when I saved that princess, when I saved Zelda for the 100th time, I don't want her to be like Zelda and Joey. It needs to be Zelda and Link. That is the canon there. But I'm curious. Let me know in the comments. What do you call your characters? It was a fun question that I thought of. Popping over into device news now, and a quick update on those waiting for Retroid reviews for the Classic and the Flip 2. My something shipped a few days ago. DHL says it's going to arrive today, which is Friday. I doubt it. They always lie. Probably over the weekend, maybe Monday latest. I don't know. I'll be doing a live stream whenever it does arrive, whatever it is, if it's the Flip 2 or the Classic or both. We'll do a live stream to get that out of the way and then wait for my review and all that sort of thing. So it seems like I'm going to have it a little bit earlier. At least I don't know what they sent me. I'm going to assume it's the Flip 2. Could be both. I don't know. So just wait a little bit longer for some impressions, hopefully by this weekend, depending on how quick DHL is. Asus is teasing a new handheld, and it looks like it's going to be part of that upcoming Xbox branded one. And it looks like Asus is actually making it. Now it's interesting because they show the original Ally in the teaser, not the X. And then they talk about the upgrades to battery and faster speeds, a new look and capacity. My take is it's likely going to be the Z2 Go or maybe the Z2 processor. I doubt it's the Z2 Extreme here. I think Xbox wants a cheaper handheld than the Ally X, and so this will probably be in that maybe $500 to $600 range, and so they have to use a processor that actually matches that price, which is Z2 Go or Z2. I guess. I'm just guessing. But this looks like it is going to be that Xbox branded handheld that we knew about. And so it'll have an Xbox guide button. And I don't know. We'll see what they do on the Xbox front for the app, if they make it a little bit more handheld friendly. They're not going to change Windows for this one. That's not what this is. But they probably will make some changes to the Xbox app for this. They do have an Xbox branded or an Xbox OS version of a handheld coming in a few years. They said it's in development. So this isn't that. This is just a better Ally with Xbox logo on it. So we'll see if it's good. You should probably be aware that Miu Flip version 2s are breaking left, right, and center on the hinge. I have seen numerous social media posts now at this point of people's hinges and other parts just completely getting destroyed right after they got it delivered. And it looks like it might be the SNES color that's affected here to the most part, because I haven't seen other colors, but I don't know. This is guess. This is me looking at a few pictures, seeing this and being like, I got to report on this and let people know, which probably doesn't do a lot either, because if you ignored the reviews and you ignored the whole maybe you shouldn't buy this device because of the issues and you still bought it anyways, and now you're running into issues still after all of that, then I don't know if you're going to listen to even this part, but maybe don't buy the Miu Flip version 2 at this point. I don't know. I am no expert here in your finances, but to me, it sounds like if a device had hardware issues like this, maybe it is not worth the risk because the actual device is still not good enough to be worth that risk. It's not like you're going to the promised land here and you have to cut off a leg to get to that promised land. You, at the end of the rainbow for this is a device that is still not as good as other devices. So yeah, long and the short of it is Miu Flip version 2 hinges are breaking. You don't want to be part of that. You should just don't buy it. Just wait. Just wait for something else. It's not worth it. Ayaneo is teasing a new product, and it is called the Pocket Ace. Now, this looks like a new version of the Retroid Pocket 2S, just more power and all that sort of thing. It looks great, honestly. I'll be quite honest. A lot of Ayaneo products actually look really good. That is not their problem at all. Their design team is usually on point, and this is definitely in a scenario like that. It looks really cool. Now, the device is using the 4.5-inch 3x2 aspect ratio, 16x20, 1080 IPS display. So it's that KTR1 display that is the new hotness, and all devices nowadays are going to use this. So that's what it's going to use. There's a Snapdragon G3X Gen 2 processor in it because it needs to have that power for some reason. 6,000 milliamp hour battery with a 40 watt hour fast charging ability, which is cool. And Hall effect sticks and triggers. And that's kind of all we know about it right now. Now, for reference, the Ayaneo DMG and the Pocket S were very similar specs. Those went for in that $300 range-ish, $339, $299, or around there. I fully see this being probably $299, which I am not in the right tax bracket for Ayaneo at these prices at all. And that is a bit too much money. Like I love the 2S, don't get me wrong. I would love a better 2S, but not for $300. And that is the early bird pricing, which means, or I'm guessing, it's not confirmed. But it'll be early bird pricing. The MSRP pricing will be $399, usually is what they do, which means that if you're going to not pre-order and you're going to wait to see what hardware issues apply and all that, you'll pay a bunch more. And by that point, it is really not worth it. So yeah, I don't know. We'll wait to see what pricing is on this. But what's going to happen here is Retroid or AOIN are going to copy this and make a better version of it for a third of the price, because that's what keeps happening with Ayaneo. So if this is too expensive for you, just wait a little bit longer. You'll have another version of it that's going to be a lot cheaper. Speaking of the new hotness screen, GKD is coming out with a product called Little, and it is going to have the same screen, that 4.5-inch 3x2 aspect ratio, 1620 by 1080 screen. I got to memorize that because I think we're going to be talking about it quite a bit this year. But GKD is coming out with it. There's going to be no right stick on the device. It's going to be Linux, and it apparently has a better processor than the A527, which we are likely going to see a lot of this year as well. This is actually an older project that they discontinued and now are bringing back. So I guess they were waiting for a better screen or something. I don't know, but good to see. I hope JKD actually does some work on their software this time. Just make that work properly, because that's one of their bigger issues. Okay, so unless you've been living under a rock this week, you know that the Nintendo Switch 2 was announced. And so we got pricing, we got a really good direct, we got a bunch of information, a whole bunch of different things. And so let's recap all that was said, the important information that you should know. The Nintendo Switch 2 is launching on June 5th with a price of $449 US or $499 US if you get Mario Kart World included as a bundle. These prices will likely change after May 2nd, whenever the stock runs out of whatever they have on hand that's been shipped to the US already, and then it will apply, or the tariffs will apply. So I don't know how much longer these prices will apply for you. Pre-orders do start on April 9th. Now the new Switch 2 has a bigger screen. It is 7.9 inches, the same thickness as the previous Switch. The screen is also 1080p 120 Hz, so you get 120 FPS goodness. It is LCD and it supports HDR. The Joy-Cons now attach magnetically. There's larger Switch sticks, and each Joy-Con can also be used as a mouse. There is better sound. There's a built-in microphone with some sort of noise isolation, so you can use it while docked far away. There's also 3D audio, and there's a larger and better kickstand. There is 2 USB-C ports, top and bottom of the device. We have 256 gigabytes of internal storage. The dock now supports 4K, and it also has active cooling. And lastly, it can of course play Switch 1 games as well as Switch 2 games. On the device and also the new Pro Controller, there is a C button that is for chat. And so you get a Discord-like chat app on the Switch, and it lets you do video and screen sharing and voice chat and more. It is free until March 2026, and then you need Switch Online to use it. The new game cards will be red to separate them from older game cards, and they will also support faster speeds. Now, Switch 2 is also going to need microSD Express cards, which are different than normal microSD cards. I actually had no idea these existed until the Switch Direct. And they need these for the higher bandwidth because modern consoles are using higher speed NVMe drives and higher speed SSDs, sort of. So it would be harder for developers to port games to the Switch 2 by not having a better bandwidth SD card. It just makes sense. You can, of course, transfer your data from the Switch 1 to the Switch 2 to keep all your saves and all that sort of thing. And there's also going to be a new Pro Controller retailing for $80 US with a headphone jack, and again, there will be a C button on it. They are releasing a new camera for $50 US, and that has some game functionalities and lets you do the video chat, all that sort of thing. Not going to be buying one of these, but if you want one, it exists. They showed off a new game sharing feature that the old DS and 3DS had, and I think maybe a few Switch games, where you can buy one version of the game and then share it with local friends for you all to play it locally. And then let's jump into some game announcements, and they did say there are 3 types of games on the Switch 2. You could play Switch 1 games as they were. You could play Switch 2 Edition games, which are upgraded versions of the Switch 1 games, and then you can play Switch 2 exclusive games. Now, they did show off some things for older games and how they are adding updates to them for Switch 2, like Zelda and better resolutions for frame rates and HDR. The HDR honestly looked super fantastic at quick glance. Then Kirby is getting a new DLC and some upgraded modes. Metroid Prime is getting a 4K 60 FPS HDR mode, as well as a 1080p 120 Hz mode. So there's a few different things changing. Even Pokemon Legends ZA will get enhanced on the Switch 2. Now, the Switch 2 editions, upgrade packs as they're calling them, are not free. You have to purchase them, and we don't know what they're going to cost yet. Both Zelda ones are included with the Switch Online membership, so at least those are sort of free, but others you'll have to pay for. They did announce a new Mario Kart World. It has weather changes. It is open world. You can roam the world. You can drive to races. You can drive as a cow. There's 24 characters in a race. It is crazy. It looks great. This is going to retail for $80 US, and it launches with the system as well as a bundle. I was going to list all of the third-party games coming, but there are way too many, so let's talk about the important ones. We got a bombshell announcement that GameCube games are coming to the Switch 2, and they showed off Wind Waker, Soul Calibur 2, F-Zero GX, and it looks like there's going to be save states and controller customizations, and of course you need the Switch Online membership for this. Alongside, they are also releasing a GameCube wireless controller to go with it, and again, you're going to need a Switch Online membership to purchase it. The surprise announcement was a game called Dusk Blood by From Software. It is coming in 2026, and it is exclusive to the Switch 2. It is a multiplayer game from Software, and it looks like it's Bloodborne inspired-ish, or a spiritual successor. It is in that same vein. Then they showed off a new Kirby Air Riders, which makes me wonder if they're going to be bringing back more GameCube games. But it looked great, and it is actually being made by Sakurai. Lastly, we have my personal favorite of the Direct, and it is Donkey Kong Bonanza, the Super Mario Odyssey of Donkey Kongs, and it is releasing on July 17th. This game looks absolutely fantastic. I lost my mind when I saw this, and I can't wait for it. Okay, so that was a lot, obviously, and we'll get into my thoughts now, and I think my voice might be going, so I apologize if that's what you're hearing, but I have to get through the newscast. People are relying on me here. Now, the price is higher than I expected, but again, I don't have a personal problem with the price. I think it's fine. I think it makes sense as it upgrades over the other Switch. We are in a different world than we were in 8 years ago. Everything costs more. You're not going to get an upgraded Switch and not pay for it. I personally don't have a problem with it. I know it's going to cost $629 or $699 Canadian for it. I think that makes sense. I don't know. I don't have a problem with it. What's funny, I noticed there's a lot of backlash about the price. I went back. I was curious. I went back to 8 years ago. I went to a few different Reddit threads when the price was announced on the Switch 1 for $299 US, $299. And those threads were full of price complaints, full of them. How it was too expensive, how the Switch would fail, how they were just going to buy an Xbox One instead, how so many different reasons, how in different countries it was going to be a lot more expensive and this is all going to fail. Fast forward 8 years later, the Switch 1 is the third best selling console of all time for 150 plus million units at this point. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe sold 68 million copies. That is better than a third attachment rate. What is it? I don't even know what the math is. I'm falling apart here. Like 40%, 50% attachment rate. That is unheard of in the industry. That is unheard of for video games. For 1 in 2 people to buy Mario Kart, 1 in 2.5, to buy Mario Kart 8 Deluxe for Switch 1, a port of a game. And then you wonder why they are charging $10 more. And you think people are going to boycott this and not buy it? Look, I get it. It sucks to see games are going to cost $80 US. But guess what? Everything in our world costs more than it did 8 years ago by a lot. I used to get 2 Condines at McDonald's for $9. It is now $19.99. So I get being mad. It does suck that everything costs more. Trust me, I get it. I'm the same as you. I got to pay more for things. But I don't see anything bad here. This isn't egregious in any way, shape, or form. The only thing that's different here is other developers haven't caught up yet. If you think for a moment that GTA 6 is not going to cost $80 or more, then I don't know what to tell you. But I can guarantee you that GTA 6 in 4 years is still going to be the top of the charts because people are going to buy it because it is still worth the purchase. There is no world where a Zelda game or a Mario game, Mario Kart 8 game comes out and it isn't worth $80. I know that there are people that are not going to like that, but the stats don't lie. The numbers do not lie. People buy it. So if people are buying it, it is worth that price. You might not like it. You might cry wolf, but it's just the way of the world. It's just how things are. If it wasn't, it's not like a scenario like, I hate to keep ragging on them, but it's not like an Ayaneo situation where like the price is high and nobody's buying it because they only sell like 500 units or whatever. 68 million copies of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Do you think anybody is not going to buy Mario Kart World? No, everybody's going to buy it. The Switch 2 is not going to sell what the Switch 1 sold like. I can guarantee you that at least. Mario Kart World is not going to sell what's Mario Kart 8 Deluxe sold like. I can guarantee you that too. But they're not going to sell bad. This isn't a Wii U or a GameCube situation or an Xbox One situation. This is going to sell. It's just a matter of you're going to pay for it. And this is going to continue. Other developers and companies are going to charge for these as well. Now let's wind back. I don't like the 8-inch screen. Again, I've talked about this before. It goes against the nature of the Switch to me, where you have a docked part where you're going to put it to a screen and you get a big screen. Then you have the portable part, which is supposed to come with you. It's an 8-inch screen. It's going to be massive. That portable part of it is gone. I liked the Switch Lite. That's what I like. I wanted a Switch Lite, and then you could dock it to get bigger. It's not going to happen. I know a lot of people like 8-inch screens, but if you're going anywhere outside of your house, it doesn't make sense to me. Either way, I'm in the minority for this. I know I am. I'll wait for the Switch 2 Lite. Maybe it'll be a 6-inch instead of a 7-inch, but we'll see. Now, personally, I'll be grabbing the Mario Kart bundle with the game included and all that. I'm going to grab the Pro controller. Going to try and grab that GameCube controller. And I'll probably grab that little thing that the Joy-Con slide into to make it a real controller. I forget what it's called. It's like a doggy grip or whatever it was. I'm going to grab that. And then we'll see. Donkey Kong Bonanza, absolutely going to grab. We'll see what other games come out and upgrades and all that. But it's going to cost a lot of money on release for sure. Let me know in the comments below. What are you doing? Are you grabbing one? Are you not grabbing one? I know the internet's reaction right now is all negative. So I might have to ask this question again in a few days when everybody calms down. But let me know. What are you doing? All right. So we have April's Game of the Month and ROM Hack of the Month picked out. And Game of the Month is The Legend of Zelda, The Minish Cap for Game Boy Advance. I have not beaten this game in maybe 30 years, so I'm having super enjoyable time going through it again. I am in the Fire Temple or something right now. I just finished it. I can't remember. I'm somewhere in the second half of the game. And our ROM Hack of the Month is actually The Last Promise. It's a Fire Emblem ROM hack for Game Boy Advance as well. And this is actually super fun. It is a Fire Emblem 7 ROM hack. It is not super difficult. It's actually really enjoyable. It has like audio from like Pokemon and Final Fantasy in it. So it gives you that kind of nostalgia, but it's super fun. Now we are actually adding a game of the season. So a game that's longer than one that can be finished in a month and that you can play over the course of a few months. And that's what's up next. So we are currently going to be voting on that. If that interests you, or if all of this interests you, you should come join the Discord. Come play some games. That's what we're here for, aren't we? Now, I do apologize. At this point, we would be doing newscast Q&A questions, and I do have a few lined up, but my throat is going. I am not feeling super well at the moment, so I'm going to end off the newscast here. I'll add those questions onto next week's newscast for you all. I apologize for those that sent it in, but appreciate you all for watching, and that's all from me. Wanganui, New Zealand.